Hello, I'm Dr. Bob Wallace from Love the Golden Rule in St. Petersburg, Florida. I am a graduate of Florida State University and also the University of Florida College of Medicine. The University of Florida College of Medicine produces a magazine about 3 times a year, and they've not produced any issues since the beginning of COVID. The first issue is on its way to the Florida alumni, and I'm very proud and happy to be featured as the physician in this issue. Being a student in the 1970s, it was not easy to be openly gay, particularly in Tallahassee, Florida, which was a very conservative community and still is. It was difficult, so I had to hide my identity, and I was just going through the coming out process at the same time I was applying for medical school. And one of the interviewers asked me the question. She said, "Do you feel there's room in the world for a homosexual as a physician?" And I don't know where this answer came from. I don't know how I pulled it out, but I said yes, and I don't think there's room in the country for a college who wouldn't accept one. I got in. So somehow that, I don't know how they registered that when they were doing the review process of students. We had 280 applicants and only 26 spots. And I was very happy to get one of those positions. When I got started in my program at Florida State, doing my first year of medical school there, I was openly gay. All of the students knew, the teachers knew. It was a little challenging because I felt I was being judged more in terms of my grades. Then when I moved to the University of Florida, I had to meet with Dr. Dean. Everybody called him Smiley Hill. And he looked at me right in the face and he said, "You really don't deserve to be here." He was talking partly about my grades and performance, but I also know that there were people who had told him I was gay. So I don't know exactly where he was coming from with that, but it really impacted my feeling about being a student and how it was going to be a big challenge to get through. So there were times where students would make fun of me. One day I went to my locker and there was a sign on it that said, "Faggots can't be doctors." I used to sit in the middle of the lecture hall, and there were a group of 5 guys that would sit behind me, and believe it or not, these were adults in medical school, and they would throw spitballs at me. So from then on, I've learned to sit in the back of the class. And everywhere I go now, I sit in the back of the room. I just feel more comfortable there. So it was a challenge, but I graduated. I got the same degree that everyone else did. I have a medical degree, Doctor of Medicine, and I have been so blessed with a practice that I've been practicing now for 40 years. I actually lost my first friend to AIDS in the fall of 1981 when it was just being discovered. So I had people calling me saying, "Bob, what is going on?" Everybody called it GRID, gay-related immune deficiency. And I had started my residency program in Bayfront Medical Center in St. Petersburg, and I started acquiring HIV patients even as a resident. I had one patient who needed a lymph node biopsy. It was a very simple procedure. I had a surgeon who was open to my cause about helping AIDS patients and was willing to do the biopsy. It was very simple. But once the procedure was open, the nurses found out that the patient had HIV, and they both came over and scolded me, stating that I had put them at risk. They were very unhappy about what I had done, and they feel that there should be warnings in some way that nurses know that they're dealing with HIV patients. And I agreed with them because it is true that we need to do it. But we knew so little about the virus at that time that there was so much fear and actual terror in people even being around patients with HIV. During 1984 and 85 and 86, I was working for a walk-in clinic, and the owner of the clinic refused to allow me to see AIDS patients in the clinic. So I actually would see them at home and make house calls. When I got my practice in 87, I started doing clinical trials and participated in up to 14 clinical trials and helped with the development of the first 1 pill once a day medication available for HIV. But the thing that happened is at 2 separate occasions while I was in the doctor's lounge making rounds at the hospital, 2 different specialists came in to me and said, I just want to tell you, I don't want any of your patients in my waiting room. Do not refer any patients to me. I started speaking in 1991, doing AIDS education to local hospitals and anywhere that I could to try to educate physicians about HIV and that they did not need to be afraid to see our patients. Now, today, all of our patients are undetectable, and therefore we know the word undetectable equals untransmissible. Patients will not have enough virus in their plasma to transmit the virus to potential sexual partners or other people that are working with them. So now, going back to the future, the students do have much better options than we did when I was in college. And the ones that have come to me have told me they do feel very safe and they don't feel that they're being challenged by their attending physicians or their professors. So that's good to hear. And I've had a number of nurse practitioner students come through who are openly gay and they feel the same. Things are so much different today. However, we are fearful of what's happening here in Florida. Gay people may be pushed back into the closet. In my practice at Love the Golden Rule, we're building a very wonderful practice. We're seeing 3 to 5 new patients a day, and many of these patients are women in their 30s who are straight, and they actually feel more comfortable with me as their doctor. So I think we've overcome the stigma of being gay in medicine, and I'd like to think that there was a part of my history and energy and effort that helped that happen.